find out soon. We've got a lot of past.
What's the procedure then? To get a late come up? John, to come in. It's probably those lights have got you.
Right, yeah, have passed this.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming along. Before we start the meeting officially, I just want to hand over to David just to say a few words. David.
Good evening, everybody. I've been asked, and I think it's appropriate, that we should make mention of sad loss of Dennis Diebold to the village and pay some tribute to his activities over the years on behalf of the village in various roles that he had. It's very difficult to give an adequate appreciation of personalities such as Dennis Diebold. He's been an ever-presence in my lifetime in the village, which extends to over 70 years. And he was, during my lifetime, was always in the background doing things in the village. And certainly, years ago, his was a very prominent part in the civic life of the village. My first recollections of him as a young man and me as a young child delivering milk in the village, which just a little anecdote, he would deliver it as far as the Grange, but he would go no further with it. And my mother found that quite, I would say irritating, that would be unfair, but amusing. He later became involved in the civic life of the parish in terms of being a parish councillor and later a district councillor on the old Thedwester District Council, which later morphed into the Mid-Suffolk District Council, which he became chairman. I can't remember whether he was the first chairman, but he was certainly one of the early chairmen of the Mid-Suffolk Council. And he certainly had a leading part in the sort of change between the old Thedwester Council, which was very small, into a much larger council. Outside his council work, he was also very prominent in Suffolk Agricultural Society's work, and he was in fact president of the Suffolk Show organisation. He took a keen interest in the Reformed Cricket Club, and indeed one of the last public appearances he made in the village was at their 40th anniversary celebration 2 years ago. He was by that time very disabled and was only able to get around in a mobility scooter. He also was a trustee of the Poor Lands Charity, and I found that his knowledge of village history and village affairs was very, very interesting, very, very useful. He also had many other interests. He was always willing to help the village when it was in difficulties. In particular, I remember one occasion when we lost the use of the sports field at the back of Bennett Avenue when it was sold by the County Council to developers. I was at the time chairman of the Parish Council, and he approached me off his own bat and he said that he would sell us the Grove Lane site, which became our first playing field, which the village actually owned. And he agreed to sell it to us at a very competitive price, but he certainly wasn't looking for a fanfare of thing for his good work. He said, you know, we could buy it, and indeed we did buy it, and that's proved to be a useful asset to the village. So he did things like that, which were not trumpeted, or he didn't want to make a big fuss about things, and he wanted to do it in his quiet way. He wanted to help the whole community, which he did. I found even when he became increasingly physically incapacitated, that his mind was still very sharp, and he could be relied on to provide wise counsel on any difficult issues in the village, and I made use of that sharp brain on several occasions. And I'm sure you'd all join me in missing his presence and influence in the village, and he'll be very hard to replace.
Thank you, David. So we'll now get the proceedings underway properly. First of all, apologies for absence to be noted or accepted.
Apology, Chairman, from Councillor Schofield, who had a pre-arranged holiday arrangement prior to his adoption of the Parish Council, so I would assume that we would accept that.
Yes. Proposal from myself that the minutes of the ordinary Parish Council meeting held on the 19th of September as they be agreed as a true record. Any comments from anybody before we take a vote? Second of first. Thank you. Thank you very much. Any comments before we take a vote? Can we vote for acceptance, please? Unanimous, Peter.
I'll abstain.
So, I might add one abstention, sorry. To receive members' declaration, pecuniary and non-pecuniary.
Yeah, hi, I've got pecuniary interest in item 13.1 and 13.2.
Thank you, Sean.
Right.
Chairman, could I just ask why that is?
Just my application, it's a planning application.
So you're the applicant in both cases?
Yeah.
And you will leave the meeting when we
Yeah.
take discussion.
No problem, yeah.
Okay, thank you. To receive...
Chairman, can I just
Sorry,
ask,
sorry.
I have the register obviously, and it might be appropriate to point out that both Councillors Birch and Edmonds have stated that they have an interest in the Bowls Club. Of course, that occurs at agenda item 21, and similarly Councillor Hawes, as he just mentioned, in agenda item 19, the Poor Land Charity, and I will minute that as separately noted apart from the register, if I may.
Okay, thank you. Ready to move on? To receive reports, papers, including from external bodies as appropriate. If you would like to add any comments, John, should we have first? Because I forgot the last one.
Yes, I just wanted to give an oral report on 2 points. Members will be aware of the pressures on housing in the country generally, and especially in Suffolk, and especially for affordable houses. So I'm rather pleased to be able to say that there's a joint venture of the local authority with a company called Baronia Developments. It works like this: the council has a small piece of land which was not viable to use for building, but adjoining to that was another larger piece of land which was also not viable on its own. Now what has happened? The council and the owners of the land have gone into a partnership, so that piece of land becomes a viable one, and it's actually in Mendlesham on the brownfield site, the old Ainsley Meadow, and when the outline plan admission goes forward, it will contain 35% of affordable housing, because of the influence that the council, being part of the site, is able to make it there. So I'm rather pleased to be able to bring that bit of information to you. The other point I'd make is about the a lot of work has been done on the revision of the council's constitution, which needed revising. I mean, if you try to pick it up now, it weighs about a kilogram, and the content is equally heavy. So the whole purpose of this revision is to simplify it, to make it more accessible to members of the public. And a lot of work has been done on that, and a lot of work still needs to be done. And I think you'll be glad to hear that.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. Jane, would you like to add anything to the proceedings?
Well, I haven't done a report because actually there wasn't a great deal to report on up until quite recently. And I'd just like to add to Councillor Hawes' comments about Mr. Stivell. I've known him for 50-something years.
How many?
50-something. I'm not going into it any more than that. Just suffice to say, I was at school with his eldest daughter Claire, and my sister is the same age as the second daughter Ruth, and my brother is the same age as Robert. So we sort of all went to Elmswell Primary School together, and so I've known Dennis for quite some time. And in fact, when I first became the county councillor for Elmswell, because it sort of moved around a bit, I was able to persuade him to give us a bit of land off the end of Grove Lane so that the lorries wouldn't keep going into the ditch. And I can see that your parish clerk is nodding.
It's smiling.
Well, yes, because I think I was told at the time that he'd never do it, so he did actually agree to do it, and it has proved to be a particularly successful, just shaving off that corner, and it went very well. So yes, I think he's led a very full life. There's just a couple of things I would mention. The last cabinet meeting that we had, which was in the middle of September, one of the things that was tabled there was about speed limits and speed limits in villages, or speed limits being requested. Typically, they're not allowed. They have to go to a speed limit panel, and then they assess it. And I know that there have been moves in previous years to have a speed limit on Ashfield Road and also on Weatherden Road. It's certainly the one on Ashfield Road. I've always thought that that's probably the only place you can overtake between Great Ashfield and here, so that's not so easy. But certainly the one on Weatherden Road, with the way that the ice forms in the winter, that's always been one that I've had more sympathy with. But the procedure now is that the parish council can ask for a speed limit, and then it has to go to the local councillor, and then they will have to use their local highways budget. I think I do have money left in that budget, but typically the speed limit panel also asks the parish council to put some money towards it. And it is, it can be anything between £4,000 and £10,000 to fund. So it's probably not something that, given that those roads have been there for some time, obviously, but I think people are used to them. It tends to be, there are spates of accidents certainly along the Weatherden Road, and then they seem to go away, and I don't know why that is. But so that was one. Tomorrow we are debating the highways contract and whether to extend it, and that will probably be extended for another 5 years. It was fairly rocky, I have to say, for the first 2 or 3 years, and it's taken a while to sort of bed down. Now Kia are more flexible in their approach. We've held them to account on a lot of things, but they've introduced a lot more flexible working with things like potholes and repairing roads. So I think that's been an improvement. And the reporting of any problems has also been an improvement. The other item that's on the agenda for tomorrow is about the they call it the Ipswich Gardens suburb, which is a fancy name for the northern fringe, and the sort of, they want to potentially Ipswich have a plan to perhaps increase the number of houses by up to 4,500 on that northern side of Ipswich, from Whitton and Whitehouse, which is sort of basically where Asda is, sort of swooping round to almost Kettering. So it's going to be quite a significant development, and we get to comment on it as the county council because of having to say about highway infrastructure and also education infrastructure, and whether they can cope with it, and also the public rights of way that are included in that land. The only other thing I would say is that devolution is still haunting us, and it's unlikely to be resolved until November, and there is a chance. Well, originally, when it was going to be decided way back, there was an idea that there was if there was going to be a directly elected mayor, that the election would be on the same day as the county council elections next year. But I think the timescale is getting pretty close now, and whether they'll actually be able to put in all the statutes and still give themselves enough time, I don't know. It would be a horrendous cost to have two lots of elections very close together, but you can never tell. They might put ours back. Well, they did it for foot and mouth.
Yes.
So I think that's about it, really.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Particularly interested in the comments about local speed limits. As everybody knows, we've got our intelligent speed signs activated now, and we'll shortly be publishing some quite shocking data on speed limits that we've collected. So perhaps we'll talk that one through a later time. Sarah?
Well, I've sent a written report, and I don't have anything else to add.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. We will move on then to number 5, to invite public questions on matters raised in the previous agenda item. Any questions from the public?
Yes, just bring up what James was talking about, traffic and the speed, etc. How do you fare with there's 2 or 3 cars that are always parked on the Weather Road at night? They're very, very dangerous. If you don't know they're there, if they're on speed, there could be a serious accident because they're parked on the side of the road. And I know there's certain places, where they could park in their houses. How do you stand that?
An unqualified comment from me is if they're not breaking any highways regulations, then I don't see what, as annoying as it is for all of us, I don't see what can be done.
The only option would be to try and put in double yellow lines, but then that would be the right as everybody else.
Any other questions from the public? Okay. We move on to number 6, to invite comments or questions from members on matters related to general item number 4. Comments? No?
Just on what you just said about double yellow lines, is that at all possible?
It is. There would have to be a case made for them. We're getting double yellow lines in beside the sort of in the run up to the school, but that's because parents park across other people's driveways, and they just don't seem to be they don't seem to realise that can be rather inconvenient if you're trying to get out. And actually, it's illegal to park across somebody's driveway if they're trying to get out. It's not if they're trying to get in, apparently. But if they're trying to get out.
I did read the case of someone trying to get in and it wasn't let in.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit bizarre, but if the case can be made that it's, that it is dangerous, I would suggest that it seems a bit strange that they're parking there and effectively setting themselves up for an accident.
Yeah, 'cause there's also another place on School Road,
Right?
junction of churches. Going
Oh,
down.
sorry,
yeah.
you just need to slip into the mic a little bit, I think. But just pull it.
I was pushing it
Push it towards you.
So on School Road, by the church?
Yeah, you go down to the end.
No,
and you-
Julie, sorry.
Go down to the end. Go down to the end and you've got the junction,
Yeah.
Church Road.
Yeah.
On there you get a lot of cars parked quite on the junction.
Oh, yeah. That tends to be when there's something going on in the church, but. And you're not, actually, I think the highway code says you're not supposed to park within so many.
10 metres.
Yeah, of a junction, so. If the police, actually, I have known the police go along there and ticket people, but that was when there was something on at Luke'swood, and that was a bit unfortunate, really.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I just raised the question of dangerous parking in the vicinity of the school in Cook's Road. Some of the parking borders on the criminal there, and I did some time ago take it up with the then headmistress, and was told that the county council buses are allowed to park on the zigzag yellow lines to pick up children. Well, when Oxford Close was developed, there was a special big roundabout put there so that the buses could go round the roundabout and pick the children up outside the school. And that is never used. Buses regularly park in Cook's Road, and there are some of the parents who park their cars right on the corner when they're picking their children up. I did have a word with one of the ladies some time ago, and she, I won't repeat the language she used when I pointed out to her that she was putting herself and her child in grave danger of being shunted up the road by somebody who had to come round the corner. Whether we can look at having double yellow lines there, because it is really dangerous, and the child is going to get knocked over and injured before very much longer, I'm afraid.
I'll ask the highways to have a look at it. Yeah.
If you had double yellow lines, would you have PCSO to come and
Oh, yes.
do a deal with it?
Yeah.
Okay, then,
Well,
so
it's having yellow lines without.
can we, any more questions from members? Can we move on then? Agenda item number 7, to invite public comment or questions on the item of this agenda.
Whether they understand that if people come here, they can only speak from the time to speak now.
Yeah, absolutely. No questions? On the agenda, any agenda item?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Is that on the planning items? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd like to speak on that.
Carry on.
Can I do that then if Councillor Pratt's in the room, I'll just do it.
Yeah, carry on, that's fine, yeah, that's fine.
Is that Peter, are we okay?
So it's
So-
fine with me.
so- so it's okay to
So I meant it's
talk
fine
on
with me.
planning
I
items?
That's on the agenda, yes?
Yeah, absolutely, yes, carry on.
Do you want to just read them out?
Yeah, carry on, please.
Which one is it?
It's item 13. 13.1, 2009, 16. It's the erection of a detached toilet utilising existing finished.
Chair, I'm sorry, if I might interrupt, I'll point of order. I'm not entirely comfortable about this.
Okay.
I would have thought that other people might not be comfortable. It might be just sensible if
put that
Yeah,
back
we
until
will.
we get into the discussion.
Well, that's what I was wondering, whether on this occasion that might be the appropriate way to do it. Otherwise, we feel some
I
constraint.
think there may be on both sides. What would you mind? Yeah, we discuss it when we get to As I say, formally you have the option now, but I think David is quite right. In terms of,
yes, that's fine. When I spoke to them at the council, they just said that that should happen anyway.
Yeah. Could I just make it clear, I'm not objecting in any way at all, it's really precisely the opposite. I just feel you might feel a little constrained in the current situation with the applicants to be here on the council.
thank you for that, David. Any other questions from the public? If not, we'll move on. Number 8, to note the following correspondence and take action as appropriate. Peter, would you mind just guiding us through the
Well, that
correspondence?
correspondence is as stated, Chairman, but in terms of further correspondence, we've had a letter from Travelstock reviving a very long-standing request from them for an expansion of the premises into the disused waiting room. This is triggered by the fact that you asked me to write to them confirming that the rent is to stay the same for the next 5 years. They feel that with that stability now they can begin to talk to us again about expansion, and so I shall take that further with them and present it to council, obviously. And continuing on the same tracks, really, a letter from a Bellio who are not going to be a Bellio anymore. They're not going to be a Bellio East Anglia. They're going to be a Bellio East Anglia Limited.
I think they're just going to be. They're not dropping the name Bellio.
Well, whatever it is, we've got to sign that we don't mind them becoming our new landlords.
Okay.
And I take it that we don't.
I'm sure we don't. Considering they're going to supposedly spend 1.4 billion on new rolling stock for East of England. That was all, Peter, was it? Number 9, to receive any further correspondence to take action as appropriate, which we just covered. Number 10, to receive the Parish report as per Appendix A, to know any additions or any matters arising, and to take action as appropriate.
A couple of additions, Chair, if I may. I've got a copy of the Mid-Suffolk Labour Town and Parish Council newsletter, if anybody wants to see it. There's nothing specific in there that I thought was worth raising with you. And also, I will be engaging you in the matter of auto-enrolment pension schemes over the next couple of months. So if anybody wants any more information on those, do come and see me. It'll cost you money.
I'm sure it will. Okay, we'll move on to 11. Sorry.
I'd like to make a comment on the branch report.
Carry on.
I'd just like to look at the clerk's report, item 1, and express my disgust that we're still paying the same rates. We were promised that the cutbacks in money would not mean cutbacks in services, and here we are being told that unsociable behaviour, parking and a myriad of other things aren't going to be attended because they can't be bothered because they've got cybercrime to worry about. And I do feel sorry for the people that are being hit by cybercrime, but most of them should know better. I'm very sorry. I get 30 emails a week trying to screw money out of me by idiots, and you've just got to read it and look at it. But I think the police wasting resources on cybercrime, the criminals that are in Poland, Russia and Bratislava, then I'd much rather see a policeman in Elmswell ticking off of that. As for the non-police community wardens, that's just one step above somebody picking up a litter, because they have no service, they have no power. PCSOs didn't have power of arrest. So a warden's going to say to the children, could you move on nicely please, and they're going to tell them where to go. Because we won't have any power, so what a complete waste of money. So I just want to express my disgust with that. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. We're paying for a police service, and very soon they'll say the quarantine's parked in the car and it's fine, don't get it, put the fire out yourself. That's all I want to say.
I'm sure many people will share your views on that.
During the time everybody's son, I mean, look at that, there's got to be a murder before you get a policeman. That's what it's more or less saying on this report. Somebody's murdered, they'll come, if not, they won't bother.
It appears again to come back to the traffic situation with some of the horrendous
Disgraceful.
problems we have in Elmswell with traffic and dangerous traffic junctions. But it's quite commonly said that until there's a nasty accident, I think will be it won't be addressed.
With all the crime going on in this hall, like all the centres off, down in the shelter down there, there's all sorts of drugs and everything. Used to be a policeman right round now and again. They ain't like coming to biddies, letting them ride round the back of them. Absolutely disgraceful.
I blame it on Brexit.
All done on the budget report. Thanks, Wayne. If we go on to 11, to note any complaints, committee business for information to be noted for inclusion in the future agenda.
Nothing, sir.
Nothing. So we're now going to 12, to note planning results as notified by the Suffolk District Council. 12.1. Peter, have you got any further?
Yeah, there are two others, Chairman. 366016 was the tree work at 20 Oxford Close, which is echoed again later on in this agenda. That was granted, and you asked me to make no comment on that. Similarly, 352216, which was outline permission for a single bungalow at Yew Tree House in Ashfield Road, that's also granted, and you supported it.
Jim, could I just ask whether there's any further information about Tudor cottages? Because I remember we'd made representation to Suffolk Heritage and wondered if they were going to get involved. Do we have any information about what they might or might not have said, which might have caused the application to be withdrawn?
Whatever they were going to say was reflected very adequately in what I sent in on your behalf, but I don't know why the application was withdrawn.
Okay, thank you.
Just watch this space.
Yes. Done.
Okay, Sean, you
Yeah.
need to take lead. Thank you. So, Peter, if you'd like to go us through the applications, please.
Chairman, do you want, with respect to invite public comment on this now that the applicant has left?
Perhaps would it not be better to make the public comment after we've had the discussion? Would that be more appropriate?
No.
No? Okay. Away you go.
The comment in fairness
Let's get
ought
the
to
balance.
be able, well, the comment in fairness ought to be able to influence our discussion, shouldn't it?
Okay. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just take in about another one we're talking about. It's a building of a property within the garden of Southview, which is on Swan Lane. We live in the outback, which is the immediate property next to that, and probably the only property that will, has any sort of maybe objections to that, because it affects us. The building will be to the south of, which is Southview, that's in their garden, so there's likely to be no objection to it from that, because it's in that garden. Ours is directly to the north of, and you can see on that boundary line between us, there's a hedge at the moment, a coniferous hedge, which has been in for probably nearly 40 years, and it's 11 foot tall. We're one concerned that building that close, because it is almost garden grab, we feel, because the size of property is completely out of character with anything down the lane. You can see everything in there has got a garden, and the premise is reasonably set within that, so that the size of garden is quite big all around, and there's no properties very close to each other. We do feel that squeezing a 4-bedroom detached property in there with a double garage is, like I say, out of character for the lane, and it would, it will create overlooking for us, and also it is a bit of an eyesore, the design of the property as well. The lane itself at the moment is unmetalled, and it's maintained by residents. Over the years, the more properties that have been down there, and we were one of those, we understand, the lane now floods, and I think that's partly we've been advised that there's soakaways put in all of the houses in there, and the ditch alongside we try and maintain it, but the ditch is slowly eroding away because of the amount of traffic forces that into the ditch. So, you know, it creates lots of potholes and things. There are lots of delivery vehicles, which now home delivery, albeit within that it says that the occupants won't need to use a car. I feel that 4-bedroom property will probably have 2 cars, as most have, to go up and down the lane again. And I think that's really what it is. It's, you know, it's out of character. We will be overlooked, and we are concerned that that hedge, building next that close to a Conifers hedge, if that goes, again the overlooking will be even more, because all we have to put in is a 6-foot fence there. And lower windows, you can see over those, and that looks directly into our property and all of our living accommodation.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
That's Councillor Excellent. Can we now get into the...
Mr. Chairman, this is, as you see, 40916, erection of a detached dwelling utilising existing vehicular access to Southview and Spong Lane. There it is. Spong Lane, as you know, comes off Church Road, and as we've heard, is completely unmetalled and has taken some development over the last 10, 15 years, as we recall it. What is proposed here is, this really is just to show you the footprint of this. What is proposed is that there's an existing access here. Here's the conifer hedge. Here's next door's garage. Double garage, and this is the footprint of the proposal. And I think this is the only plan that shows you a summer house in the garden. That shows you the setting within the garden. What that gives you is a downstairs with a double garage, a study, utility, living, kitchen, dining and sunroom, and above that you have bedrooms 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 are in the dormer. What that looks like from I did make a note. So east is from the lane. And this man must be down here somewhere. West, south. So be there. Yeah. So from the lane you would see that, because the door is down this side. The south elevation is the front of the house with the double garage. Possible solar panels are mentioned there. The other elevations are there. And the planning statement, as it were, highlights, I've highlighted it. Now, first of all, I'd like to make the point that all councillors have had this document for some time, so they've been able to read the full document. So I'm not rushing through it without them having a chance to make any comment. But we get to number 19. In planning terms, this application is making its strongest case, I suggest, by virtue of the fact that without the 5-year land housing supply, stop me if you've heard this before, the MPPF is the default position. Mid-Suffolk haven't got 5 years worth of housing, so the government's broad brush approach, 51 pages of rules, overrides everything. Basically what that says is that you must allow development if it is sustainable. And there it is, paragraph 14, where relevant policies are out of date, which effectively these are. The presumption in favour of sustainable development means the plan permission should be granted unless, then we get to any adverse impacts of doing so would significantly and demonstrably outweigh the benefits when assessed against the policies in this framework, taken as a whole, or specific policies in this framework indicate development should be restricted. Therefore, the developer argues, in this case, the main planning consideration is whether the development would result in any significant impacts. Now, in the past, we have relied upon local plan policies to assess those impacts. And similarly here, you will find that for example, the local plan policy H16 in the red folder. You can find the red folder. Local plan policy H16 advised you that to protect the existing amenity and character of primarily residential areas, the district planning authority will refuse change to where a change would materially and detrimentally affect the character and amenity of the area. You might consider that that happens in this case. You must weigh that up, I suggest, in terms of whether or not that makes it less sustainable. NPPF says sustainable. We have always gone by local plan policies which have defined sustainability in these sorts of terms. The other sorts of terms in which they define it are age 15, in fact. Proposed housing should be consistent with the pattern and form of development in the neighbouring area. The character of its setting, particular site constraints such as access and drainage, and the configuration of the site, including its natural features. So it could be argued that if you're looking at sustainability, those arguments must be considered. Other than that, I don't think there are any more exciting pictures. No, I've got the application form if you need it. But basically that is it. Joe.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Can I try to open to members? David?
When I first saw the plan, I thought, actually, I could see it's perfectly logical to put a house there. Sorry, thank you. When I first saw the plan, I thought, yes, it's logical you could put a house there. But having seen what's proposed, it's vastly too big. It's huge compared with the plot, both in its footprint and in its height. I mean, the angle of the roof, it makes it a very tall building, a little tower. I can certainly see the problem with regard to potential overlooking. You can't possibly guarantee that a hedge is going to remain there, whether or not the owners and developers wanted to or not. It's not the point. The hedge, we take it away, or it might just die. So we certainly can't rely on a hedge being there. The overlooking would be potentially quite serious. It's an interesting question, this one of drainage. I think that's something obviously we need to look at in terms of any development there, because if there is a problem, then that is something that I think properly is taken into account. The accessway itself is, we've always said, potentially a problem, and every house you build there is going to generate more traffic and create more of a problem in terms of an unmade road. And I think it's fair comment to say that the suggestion that because it's close to the railway station, the shops people walk there is disingenuous in the extreme. It's highly likely there'll be at least 2 cars there travelling up and down. So obviously the road is going to be used more. And I feel that whilst I might personally not be averse to something there, I think this is completely out of character, completely wrong. And it's just much too big, quite apart from the generic problems of access, drainage, etc. That particular design
On sides?
Yes, on sides alone it shouldn't be allowed, quite apart from the other aspects, as I say, of any development in terms of drainage and access and so forth. I think those are concerns which we quite properly we should raise. But I think in terms of this particular application, the size of that house, both in height and the footprint, is simply vastly too big for that plot.
Okay. Could we just have a look at I think it would be the north elevation in terms of where the number of windows that may be overlooking the adjoining property?
That one there.
That's the wrong.
That's not the house.
That's the nursery.
I didn't think it there.
Go through a way.
Kids that gave it away.
No.
Yes, it was all the kids. Oh no, yes, there we go. That one there.
I think the ridge is 8.5 something metres high. It's pretty tall.
It's the big open stairwell.
Sorry, then it's the south elevation. It's just the other side. It's what windows are overlooking.
No, that's the north elevation. No, that's the side that would overlook. Yeah.
Well, they do deal with the question of the windows in item 21 in the statement, which is says, dwelling has been very carefully and sensitively designed to ensure it does not result in any loss of privacy or loss of daylight to any adjacent dwellings. First floor windows on the side facing elevation with either high level or obscurely glazed to prevent overlooking.
I think you can't get away from it because of that big glaze within the stairwell. That's actually a stairwell, that big piece in the middle. And you cannot not overlook when you go up downstairs and stand on the landing. And that's what we've been advised from the local.
Well, I mean, if you just go, sorry,
Yeah.
if you just go to the elevation again and just look at that height of it. I mean, it is enormous.
I think it's been accentuated by the fact that it's almost a shabby type bungalow. I mean, it's probably not any higher than a normal two-storey dwelling, I would think. You're not going to think.
Very nice.
Okay. David.
Presumably the height is to make it so you can use the top floor wider.
Yes.
Now,
Sure.
shallower pitch, you don't get the amount of space.
But I would have thought that any two-storey or dwelling is going to come out of a similar height.
I see those windows in the roof, so that's
Need to
actually
switch.
can't have all got theirs.
Oh, well, then you need to.
Yes. I think those windows are all en suite or bathrooms, aren't they? Apart from obviously the stair ones.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes, you are right.
Yes, which will probably be obscured glass, according to the planning statement.
Mr. Chair, I could say if we were, as and when we're making comments, we could say that we take the view that there should be a requirement that those windows remain as obscure glass.
A planning condition, yes.
And we've resisted, we've resisted houses in Swan Lane consistently over many years, but they've always been approved. So the chance of it not being approved in the lane will not be on the basis of its location. The only grounds that we might have for objecting will be or successfully objecting, would be on the physical appearance of the proposed dwelling.
And as David points to size.
Well, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, that would, the size would come into the physical appearance.
Yes,
wouldn't it?
yeah. Peter?
Yeah, apart, I mean, I sorry, me?
Karen,
Yes, yeah, okay. I agree with both David's comment, both of David's, but I think the fact that it will probably get approved is not really grounds for, we shouldn't really take any regard of that. We've always resisted developments in lanes such as this and Rose Lane on sort of traffic and the emergency service argument. If the dustmen are there and somebody has a heart attack, the ambulances are going to get through. And we've, I mean, that may not work with planners, but I think there's a point that has to be made. And I actually laughed out loud when I read about the sustainability statement when you could walk to the railway station, because it's got to be in excess of half a mile, if not 3/4. And nobody walks that far these days, and even the planning, it's even got a two-car garage. So, I mean, you know, unless they're going to store all their stuff outside like people do in garages.
Weekend trips.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm generally on the size issue and the fact that, from a traffic point of view, you know, emergency vehicles and the access to Church Road.
So your objection is not to size or appearance, your objection is
Well, size,
per se, not that
yeah,
there shouldn't be another
yeah, but
development.
the argument that we've always made in situations like this, I don't see the fact that it's probably going to be accepted would lead us to deviate from that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
I feel that property is going to be far too big for that size of land. Perhaps something obviously a lot smaller. I also feel that people who live in the surrounding houses will be moved into that house because they weren't overlooked. And I think that's pretty unfair then to suddenly have this house cleared, especially garden, when you bought that property without it there. So I don't think that's really suitable.
I'd be correct, but I don't think it's right in planning in terms of being overlooked or unoverlooked. But I mean, we can still.
I know, but you, if you want to live on a housing estate that close, you'd move to a housing estate.
Okay, so, sorry, David.
I think that sort of a one-horse track down there, and I think any traffic going down there, you can get the dust cart's been stuck down there twice in that ditch and blocked. If there's a fire engine want to go down, I never get there. What I'm saying is, any more traffic going down that lane, that won't take it. We've always been against any building down there, but not only that, that property is there, it's a beautiful property. You put another one in, that's a cramped, they're going to overlook each other, aren't they? It's terrible. Why don't they just leave it to the nice property like it is?
Sorry, I don't want to be a Jeremiah, but when you look at the buildings that have been committed,
just obviously for
looking at the buildings that have been permitted by the planners, we had what we regarded as a gross overdevelopment in Rose Lane behind Grant Rose, which we objected to very strongly, and we were turned down, and they got permission for it. And I fear that this same thing will happen again.
I think it will, but there's no reason for us not to say what we think.
No.
I think that will go through. They'll build anyway, they'll build in the middle of the road if they can.
David.
Yeah, Joe, we've obviously got to accept that the planning situation is rather different now. There is pressure to allow planning in any position, and that's why undoubtedly we're seeing plans pass that previously wouldn't have been. I think there is this issue nevertheless about Spong Lane. I think it is worthwhile reiterating it, and as years move on, it's becoming clear that you get more and more deliveries. You've got Tesco deliveries, you've got eBay deliveries, people buying online from Amazon. There is inevitably more and more traffic now on any road, even a cul-de-sac like this, than there was years ago. And I think it does strengthen our argument a bit. It does give us something else to say, rather than what we said in the past has always been ignored. I think in terms of overlooking, of course, the other thing we haven't considered is the position with regard to South View. As long as nobody in terms of the applicants going to say anything. And I take what Julia says in terms of, well, perhaps people bought it so that weren't overlooked, and I accept also that that's not a planning matter, but one can talk in terms of the amenity of the local buildings, rather than people who are actually occupying them. We can say that the amenity of the outback would inevitably be reduced by potential overlooking, and whilst I'm not familiar with the layout of South View, there is clearly a risk that the amenity of that property would be adversely affected by this development. So I think that both those issues are ones that we can raise. I think that in terms of the size of the building, it's still a problem. I take the idea that it might be a sort of chalet style, and therefore it might look taller than it actually is, but it's still a hell of a footprint to put there.
It is a large building, no question about that. David, you just need to turn your mic. Sorry. We'll get the hang of these ones. Okay, I think we've been all the way around. I think Mike and Chris, the only one that commented. So I think I agree with all the comments. Show of hands then, I think, is for.
What, in favour of development?
Yeah, favour of development, yeah, against. David?
I should abstain.
Okay. And we will take on board the comments and make the appropriate reflections of the council. Peter, next one please.
Sean back.
No,
No, of course I did.
Yes.
Go take the newspaper.
Thank you, Chair. This one, 316, extensions and alterations to Street Farm Day Nursery in Station Road. I think you all know this is Station Road, this is Street Farm Day Nursery. This is Street Farm Farmhouse, which is a listed building, and this is, of course, Captain's Carriage. As was.
That was what, Peter, sorry?
Captain's Gallery. It was a joke.
Oh, okay.
It was by way of lightening the mood. Sorry.
So the newcomers, that went right over as well.
I get sense. I think the best illustration of what is there and what is proposed is this one. The footprints, the purpley bits are the additions. So the existing footprint is here, and it is in fact two buildings. What happens now is you come off the road, you drive into the courtyard, here is a reception area, and the access to the main nursery is through the gate here. What is proposed is that the front is extended onto the grass in front towards Station Road, and this extension is built here. What that gives you in terms of floor plan is that you have effectively what they're doing is they're rationalising the kitchen arrangement. There's a kitchen here, so there's a kitchen somewhere, perhaps it's there. No, the kitchen was here, I think, and it's tiny. I have seen it, it is very small. So they wanted to rationalise that. So what they're proposing is that they have some extra additional running about space here, a proper reception and office because they're very cramped at the moment, with the access to the complex from Station Road through this front door here. Not from the yard into here, but from Station Road here. So this is new build towards the road. And the other little bit, what they're adding here is simply a small area of extended play area. What that does is northwest. So northwest is from the road. There it is. There it is. Here we are. So from the road, that's what you will see. This is the new sticky out bit here, with two sticky out bits, the technical phrase. With two dormer roofs there that break up the continuum of what would otherwise be a fairly boring roof. This is the way in, and the rest of it is reflected accordingly. The little bits are there, but they're not visible from the road. Once again, all councillors have had for several days the fact that Acrobat is working. You can't do that to me. The planning statement is here, and they make a point somewhere on visual amenity. Again, I'm highlighting elements which I think are worth reinforcing for councillors. They have seen the whole document, have had a whole few days to read it. The proposed extensions and alterations have been carefully designed to respect the local setting. The building works will be carried out using traditional materials to match the existing structures. The proposed extension to the front elevation will enhance the architecture of the building and add interest to the street scene. The proposal will not adversely affect the visual amenity of the area. This is what the applicant's agent is saying. As far as residential amenity is concerned, the proposal will not result in any additional activity at the site because the licence restricts the number of children who can attend, and the licence is not to be changed. So the same number of kids will go into different buildings. In terms of highway safety, the extension at the front will not impact on the visibility displays. I will bring up in a moment a suggestion that that might not be the case. But I've looked at the measurements, and I tend to agree, and the professionals will be the arbiters, that the visibility displays are adequate. They will not impact on the visibility displays of the existing vehicular access to the site. Visibility to the south, etc., will be maintained. The proposed extension to the building at the rear will not impact on the existing car parking facilities. They've got 8 car parking spaces at the back. As previously stated, the proposal will not result in an increase in children attending, so there's no additional traffic. Consequently, the proposal will not have a material impact on highway safety. That's the development. In terms of heritage, and this is important because of the adjacent listed building and Street Farm. Street Farmhouse, Grade 2 listed. The historic setting has already been significantly changed by the Blackbourne Road estate, which encloses the curtilage of the listed building on two sides. The extension of the building at the front of the site will affect the setting of the listed building when viewed from the south. However, that effect will not be significant. And finally, I think there is a suggestion that this development accords with relevant policies of the development plan. The relevant policies of the development plan might be best summed up as the HB1, which is the listed building, which says that you mustn't materially affect to the detriment any listed buildings, and E12, paragraph 4, traffic generated by the development should not prejudice the efficiency of the local highway system or adversely affect residential streets. Now that is something which is germane because of 3 comments which have been made by neighbours. And they're not to be found there at all. Those 3 comments are to be found open with, get rid of that, no, those 3 comments are to be found, there we go. Our driveway is to the immediate south of the property. We are concerned that it will impede our view of oncoming traffic when leaving our property. We are also concerned with possible parking issues if the reception for the nursery is now towards the front and roadside. I'm surprised that we were not notified by council. Number 2, I am concerned that the proposal will reduce the visibility when exiting our drive onto Station Road. The road is used by large abnormal loads on a regular basis and is very often congested due to level crossing being closed and car parking along the opposite side of the road to the proposal. By creating an entrance to the front of the property, this may encourage people visiting or dropping off their children to park on the path outside the proposed development. This would reduce visibility even more. Considering implementing some sort of traffic calming or restricting parking in this area similar to that outside schools, or by reducing the speed limit in this area, may encourage use of the existing car park associated with the development. Those are those concerns, and there is another one. And I don't think I can make them any bigger, I'm afraid. Dear Sir Madam, I am a neighbour Street Farmhouse to the household making the above application. I've looked over the plans provided and I'm concerned that the corner of the extension closest to my property may obstruct the visibility display from my driveway. The position of the gate post was very carefully chosen to provide the correct visibility when I applied for our own planning consent for the drive. There are no dimensions quoted on the drawing. In fact, there are dimensions quoted on the drawing. And so I have had to estimate from the scale. Hence, it may be that the positioning has taken this into account, but without accurate dimensions, I cannot be sure. Is it possible to request annotated plans, etc.? So he wanted the district to send in those. It is my view that his fears are not founded, having looked at the plan with the dimensions on it. So that's it, Joe.
Thank you. And as you said, I think that will be determined by the highway display conditions. Over to members.
David? I think there's a bit of a dichotomy here, and I thank you. I think we might need some help from Peter from a strict planning point of view. My concern relates solely to the fact that the door, the access, is now going to be from the front. We've just been hearing about cars parked at the school in inappropriate places, nobody taking concern. And if you've got a load of small children being dropped off, I just don't see them being the cars going around the back as they currently do, parents getting out and bringing the children around to the front. It's just not going to happen. They're going to park on the road. And you know that with small children, you don't just sort of bung them through the door and say, cheerio, darling. It takes a little longer than that. So I think there's going to be a serious problem with parking in Station Road if you bring the access round to the front, or the entrance round to the front. However, my concern is this. what is to stop the applicant building it without an entrance at the front and then simply putting an entrance in? As I understand it, he wouldn't be required to get planning permission, simply put a front door in that wall. So I'm not sure there's any, if that's right, and I'd like to be guided on that, there's no point in us objecting on the basis that we don't think there should be a front door there, because he could build it without a front door and then just put it in. But I do have serious concerns about parking. I haven't really got any concerns about anything else.
Just on the parking, isn't it a bit subjective? Is that if I was dropping my young children in that location, I would want to park the car in the safest possible position. And not have to drive. No, okay, well then.
Perhaps the chairman did not hear earlier about parking in the school.
But it is subjective. It's subjective. You know, we cannot control where people park, and perhaps we have to comment on the parking issue. But David.
Well, the only way that there could be some control over the parking is if double yellow lines were put in the road, and I think with the vacant factory development, it can only be a matter of time before there will be double yellow lines all up the road, because that is going to become chaotic.
It is chaotic,
So it's going to become impossible.
Yeah.
So I think that problem over the parking outside will be good, though that's not really germane to our discussion this evening.
No. Mike?
Whilst we're putting all these yellow lines in, we still haven't got the place to enforce it. I don't care what Jane Story said, if we put the yellow lines for the PCSOs come around, there are no PCSOs, they can't come around.
There's one other small point I perhaps omitted to mention when I was talking about the parking. As I understand it, the staff of the street farmers park on the other side of the road anyway. So you've already got, during the day, one row of cars down one side of the road. My concern is if you then have people parking on the other side of the road, and I'm absolutely positive, I'm actually 100% certain, not 99% certain, that will happen. You are going to end up with a real chicane there and a real danger. But I'm not sure how we can avoid that problem from a planning point of view, which is why I wonder whether Rita can give us any input into that.
Peter, can you, please?
You can't require, obviously, you can't require the applicant to change the application to suit yourselves. What you could say is that there is, if you consider that there is a danger that that door is a problem, you could, you can't suggest that they remove the door. What you could do is you could remove permitted development rights so they don't put any more doors in, but you can't remove that door because that is down to the applicant to make another application. So I think it's rather black and white. Either you think it can go through, or it can't. You can't go around redesigning it for.
I fully understand that. We can't go back and say we'd be happier if it were like this. I was just wondering whether there's any point in rejecting it at this stage if they could simply put a door in. But it seems to be the logical process may well be that we say we are uncomfortable about this because of the position of that new entrance. We believe that that will lead to a lot of parking in Station Road, which will itself lead to a serious danger, particularly when you're talking about young children who are being got out of car seats, etc., etc. If the planning authority agree with us on that point, then it would be up to the applicant to go back and produce another application, which presumably wouldn't include that entrance. At that time, we could obviously raise the idea that Peter's got, put in our minds, that we could then suggest that the permitted development right to put an entrance in there has taken away. I wasn't aware that was something to be done, and that seems to me to be the way forward if councillors were minded to agree that there is a potential parking issue as a result of that door.
I don't want to dwell on the parking issue, but if there are, as there always appear to be, cars parked on the opposite side of the road, if the car stops on then the nursery side of the road, it would actually block the road, and nobody would get through because there is only one way. It just wouldn't. It's as you say, it's a dilemma.
Can I say what reply you would get? I'll only give you a couple of minutes.
Yeah, that is
Okay.
that is what I was going to say. People pull up, regardless of, I'm going to be a minute.
So you think they would actually block the
Yes,
highway?
absolutely.
Okay.
You get it everywhere. But let me a minute.
Yeah, Peter.
If I could just add some propriety to your considerations. Parking Standards Policy T9, development proposals, including changes of use, will normally be required to provide for the parking and manoeuvring of vehicles on the application site in accordance with the parking standards adopted by the District Planning Authority. And our old friend T10, when considering planning applications, the District Planning will have regard to the following highway matters: the provision of safe access to and egress from the site, the suitability of existing roads giving access to the development in terms of the safe and free flow of traffic and pedestrian safety. So there are local plan policies which specifically encapsulate the sort of reservations that we're hearing tonight.
Okay.
I mean, I've seen many times where, especially at schools, where you get a parent just literally pull in, completely block the driveway because they're in a new minute. And if you take the entrance to the front, then they'll just park there and a new minute. And so I think there's going to be carnage. They'll probably block people in from coming out of our park as well.
Just one thing. I mean, the people who run this nursery, they are providing adequate parking for the number of people that go there already. They can't really be held responsible for the irresponsible parking of their parents, of the children. It's not really their problem, is it? So therefore, we can't really reject plans provided that their car parking is satisfactory at the moment. And they say in their application they're not going to increase the number of children. How can we get too iffy about parking?
I suggest you go and sit outside the school one day.
I see it regularly. My blood runs cold some days. But that's the reality, I'm afraid.
Peter? No? Mike? No? Okay, then I think we need a show of hands of whether council supports or not. So, who supports the application? Who doesn't support the application? Do we have any? No, that's correct. I'm just looking at. Okay. Thank you. So we can actually ask Sean to. Boris, he's there.
He's probably gone into that other meeting.
He's probably gone into see the show.
I live in the road. In fact, if they move that.
All they can do is just press charging.
Okay. Peter, 13.3.
Hey Joe. General item 13.3 is more tree work at number 20 Oxford Close. Councillors will remember that they deliberated over some tree work at Oxford. It seems that this is part of the same back of an envelope that Mr. Jarvis drew, and for some reason it covers two applications. This is the application site, so you can see the size of the, you can imagine, please imagine, this is the application site, so you can see this is Oxford Close, in from Bennett Avenue, there's the school, driving round, tucked away in the corner with quite a large plot of land. And permission was granted, and you had no objection to the last tranche, and I think you'll probably recognise that some of them are here, because this is the only evidence, I'm afraid, that I've got for you. And there it is. It's digital in that he held the pen with his fingers, but I think that's about it otherwise. So trees to be felled oak. So what we're looking at is one or two, a pine and an oak are here, they're to be felled or pruned, and 14 an ash and 17 a beech, 14 and 17. And if you look at the text, the oak is to remove 3 or 4 low branches, the pine is to take down 1 branch, 14, which is this little chappy here, 14 is an ash leaning fell, because it's leaning on other trees, so if you fell it, it will give the other trees a chance. And 17 is the beech, a bad specimen close to house, growing through the pine, so that is to be felled as well. Those are the 4 trees in the proposal.
No TPOs, of course.
They're all TPO.
They're all TPOs.
Otherwise they would be subject to a planning.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. They don't actually put the TPO numbers on there, no.
It's TPO as one
As
contiguous
belt
belt,
one. Okay, thank you for that.
unless you know them off by heart.
No.
I assume that they will have to replace the trees.
No, there's no requirement for that.
Can we ask for them to be replaced?
There are two that are to be felled, you can ask for them to be replaced.
I think we should.
Have we solicited views from our traffic?
And then in a few years, come take them down again then.
Yes, our tree officer has no problem with it.
He has no problem with it? Yeah. So our professional has no problem? Okay.
Isn't it the case that one of the trees to be felled is too near the house and the other one is too near the adjoining, the neighbouring trees? And wouldn't replacing them then revert? I mean, you'd have a different tree too close to the house and another tree, a different tree that would impede the growth of the one either side. So it would defeat the object of the exercise, wouldn't it, to replace them? I mean, I'm all for trees, I'm not.
Likewise, but I don't know enough about
But
it.
if one is too close to the house, why put another one there?
Well, if you read the thing, it says that the trees, they are pruning the ones where the branches encroach on the house, the T1 and T2, they're removing branches, which that's fine. But it doesn't say that the ones that they're going to fell are too close to the house, does it?
17
Or is it?
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, my view in these ones is always, why don't we just refer it to the tree officer with Simon follow his advice?
I absolutely agree.
That's what we normally
That's
do.
what we normally do. Yeah. Julie, did you want to?
Yeah, what's the point of having TP on trees if those can ignore it anyway?
Again,
Well, they come before us.
we need to refer it to the professionals and the experts, and if there's good reason in their views that they should be felled, then
Why are we keeping a pine over a beech?
I haven't got a clue. I wouldn't probably even be able to tell you.
Beach is a bad specimen.
I suggest we do what David said.
So
We haven't got
I think
no
we've got no expertise, but I think we just, so are we all happy to refer it to our tree? You're not. So let's have a show of hands for referring it to our tree specialist. And Julia, you want to?
Keep the trees.
You want to keep the trees. Okay. We'll move on then to 13.4. Again, Peter, please.
Oxer Close again, this time just round the corner, upside down, not quite as upside down, and then there we are, completely upside down. So this is the corner plot here. You've come in from Bennett Avenue, there's the school, and so in the heart of Oxer Close is number 23. And the proposal at number 23 is, here it is, so there it is, the footprint is as you see it, and there's a very good second chance where this actually says that the hatched area is the increase in footprint size. So all you're adding to the footprint is that. What you have is, from the front, garage of an overdoor by the looks of it, with pan tiles immediately obviously tucked into the house, and from the back, there's a back door. What is proposed is that the garage disappears and you end up with a two-storey extension on the side of the house. There it is, with the right bricks, matching windows, matching tiles, etc. And from the back, you end up with the back of an extension. What you have at the moment is a house with a garage. What is proposed is a house without a garage, with the car, there's the demonstrated with a car can park in front, no garage, an extension to the kitchen and playroom, and upstairs you had nothing, but now you've got a master bedroom. No, sorry, you've got
It's not
this bit.
an ensuite, so, no, it's not an ensuite, no.
The helpful, sorry, yes, so this is what you end up with, this is the extra bit. A new master bedroom, etc. The planning statement is helpful because it's got some very useful pictures, I think. So, there it is as it is now. There's the house, there's the garage, there's the car space. So this shows you, in effect, the neighbourhood context. There's the garage again. I don't know how to show that. It's not very clear on here. And what they're saying about, I thought I highlighted something. There are many cases of houses around the estate extending in the same manner to increase the size of the dwelling. The sacrifice of the garage for extra living accommodation at ground floor reflects modern living in the sense that garages are seldom used for the purpose of parking and are instead only used for storage. While storage space is desirable for a domestic property, it is unnecessary to utilise the garage in this way as the garden is ample and can contain shed outbuildings comfortably. Therefore, the use of the garage footprint for increased living accommodation is logical. The addition of further bedroom is also desirable and will be better equipped for modern living, as currently the third bedroom is only of box room proportions. That, in brief, is the case, but again, you have had a chance to look at that. That's the application form.
Peter, could we just flip back to the plan, just to indicate the amount of parking that's available?
It's the one I think.
Sorry,
No, that's it, that one.
Yep.
So there's barely
So that's a
parking.
car width there.
There's barely parking in front of the house. It's only just, so it restricts or maintains the parking to one vehicle. Okay.
Could I just clarify whether or not the number of bedrooms increases, or is it still remaining the same? I wasn't quite sure, having heard the last bit. Was it 2 and it's going to 3, or was it just being met at 3? I wasn't sure.
Let's have a look. Can we have a look at the upstairs plan, Peter?
So this is the existing upstairs, which has got 3 bedrooms, master, 2 and 3. And the proposal is for a bigger master, I think you'll find. So master bedroom, and then 3 and 2, oh, and 4, actually, sorry.
that was low,
Yes,
wasn't it?
2, 3 and 4. So end up with a big master bedroom over the garage, and 2, 3 and 4 here.
And an ensuite to the master.
So it does move from 3 to 4.
Sure.
Yes, that's quite new. Was there any restrictive covenants or anything like that on the estate? You might know that.
Restricted covenant in terms of
Stopping using the garage. We recently tried to impose that, I believe, on another matter to stop garages being taken as...
You were recently successful over the bake factory development in removing permitted development rights so that the garage could not be converted. That will not maintain here now. They've got the right to do it if they get planning permission.
So it could well be a case of 1 extra car and 1 fewer parking spaces.
Yes.
Go down from 2 to 1.
Yeah.
Can't have driving a car outside now, it's not going to change, is it?
No, we've got extra bedrooms.
I don't think we can have any serious reservations about this, can we?
I don't think so personally, but Julia would be...
My concern is that it's going from 3 to 4, so you could potentially have more cars, and also it's on a bend. going round into a turning point and then goes round.
It's a cul-de-sac.
But it is a dead end, I mean, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's actually quite simple.
But it's nice, it's the,
So no one's
the round side.
I mean, I find it difficult that we object to people trying to improve their premises and improve their accommodation.
Yeah, it's nice.
I think it's been done quite well. So can we just move into show of hands to support? Will you support, David? Sorry.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, sorry. Excellent. Okay, Peter, so that's a unanimous support.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, we move on to 14, proposal from myself that the clerk makes known to the council with comments on the above planning applications for the professional legal officer and in service with Suffolk District Council. Could I have a second for that, please? Right, thank you. And could we have a vote on that, please? For? Dick? Sorry. Unanimous. Thank you. 15, to discuss any other planning business and to take action if appropriate. Peter, can you throw a light on this one, please?
15.1, Chairman, is here's the application letter, which explains it better than I can. This is an application for a determination as to whether the prior approval of the authority will be required for the siting and appearance of the upgrade as outlined on the enclosed drawings. These people who supply telephone masts, etc., generally, as statutory undertakers, have the right to put masts up, generally speaking, and to change them. But before they do so, they have to check that nobody is going to object to them doing it, in which case they would have to go through a planning process. So this is a way of fast-tracking it. This is an upgrade of telecommunications apparatus at the above location, etc. So what they're saying is, do you want us to put in a planning application for this? They're asking Mid-Suffolk that. And Mid-Suffolk are asking you what you think about that. And you think it's upside down, and you're right. You remember that we did look at the site opposite very recently, where there's an application for a new mast there. What we've got here is an existing installation, which they want to upgrade to 4G, which I think is a system of fireproofing for telephones. But I'm not entirely sure.
You are a wit.
Just an ingenue. What you've got, this is the existing here. They're saying, do you mind, if we put one of those in, does it need planning permission? This one goes, this one stays. One of these cabinets stays, one of them goes, and a new cabinet emerges there. And they want to know whether, no I don't. They want to know whether you object to that.
Did you say that they have a statutory right to do it anyway?
They've got a statutory right as long as they have asked, does it look okay in general? It's a bit difficult. It's a generally permitted development order.
So would we not be wasting our time through the planning process only for them to say, well,
The planning process can stop.
oh, it could stop. It can stop. Yeah. Okay, that's the bit I didn't understand in terms of what would rule in that case. But then do we have any objections?
Well, is the new one the same height as the old one?
It's same height, I think.
Little bit, a couple of feet taller.
Well, yeah, but not significantly.
It's just slightly larger in diameter, I think, at the top, which is, again, I would suggest insignificant, but particularly where it is.
Is it more powerful?
What, I would think it is to serve your new phone.
It's 1G
Yeah.
Probably catch fire.
We must get 4G already.
And I
I do.
David?
Yeah, shall I suggest we support that?
I
I haven't proposed that.
Yeah, okay. Support? Yeah, unanimous. And the last planning is 52. Oh, sorry, Mike.
I bet no, I bet this the next one is 15, so I better say that I actually live on the boundary of that. I hadn't realised, I hope to declare that.
The boundary of 52?
The Lawn Quarry Farm, I live on the perimeter of that field where they're quarrying. So this affects me if they start throwing cement dust in my garden.
Okay. You can't, or there's no need to depart?
No need.
I'm saying that I
It's not the key area, is it?
Only if your argument is it would devalue your house.
No.
You paid 3/4 of the other way.
Well, that's why I've got you so confused. It's a long way away, isn't it?
It's about 300 yards.
And the rest. But if
Anyway,
That's just declared interest, that's
that's right, absolutely.
Yes.
Just for clarification.
Yeah, the point is, if they come to the line of what they regarded as their biggest quarry, that would indeed be 300 metres
Yes.
from your house. But at the moment, it's at least double that, isn't it?
They have permission to quarry right up to a hedge, which is only 300 metres from my house.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that might be. Yeah.
Any other comments then on that?
Can I tell you what it is?
So I thought we knew what it was. But
No, this is, you know where, I think you know where it is. The permission was granted originally in 2009 for sand and gravel extraction, and a non-material amendment was agreed, and was before this council, in 2013 for the installation of a cement silo. So the silo has already got permission, and actually is there, I think.
Yeah.
It is there. And there it is, in all its glory. If you are, here's the old A45, here's the entrance, this is their big shed as you drive in, it was Tulip's old shed, I think, and the silo is there. Now what they're asking is, can we now use it for the purposes for which it was built? And it was built to take bulk cement powder from a pressurised tanker which will drive in, squirt this stuff into here, and they will then load it from there onto individual lorries who will pick up some aggregate, pick up some cement, go on site and produce ready-mix concrete on site. So they just want to know whether environmentally they can start their process. There are lots of details on the application form. They are technical, but you're very welcome to go through them if you like. Or you could rely on the professionals at Suffolk County Council.
What we do with trees?
I think that probably would be the best proposal. Are we all happy for us to rely on?
Whether than raise several objections. Because whether than raise several objections on the increased traffic within the village with these heavy lorries and stuff.
I did circulate that, didn't I?
I think the site is employed about 20-25 people. It's well out of the way. The only reservation I've got, and I've got against it, I'm all for it. They are using more online. I'd like Peter, if he could, to write to him. If we want to do complaints down online, and if you look down online at the moment, there's a big trail of gravel there. They are using that and they shouldn't. Apart from that, no problems. If they keep their route, they should keep to. But it's the old saying is, if you can do a short distance, you do short, don't you? But I think we should write to them and tell them they are encroaching, they shouldn't come up with it in big lorries, but they are. And I think we should write to them. But apart from that, I've got nothing against them. If they use the proper route.
It's a 7.5 tonne restriction on.
So they
Well, they're bigger than 7.5 tons.
So they're breaking the law effectively, if they,
But they're not the only ones who do that.
No, they're not, but they are local.
Well, the other one that breaks them is also local.
Okay, so can we support this to go to the experts?
Mr. Chairman, I suggest we simply make no comment on it.
Okay. We're all happy? No
Yeah,
comment?
I think
Yeah.
that's way to go, yeah.
Okay. 16. Proposed by myself that the Elmswell Parish Council shall enter into a legally binding contract to purchase the Wesley Chapel and Halls for the sum of £285,000 and shall complete such contract on such a date as shall be agreed with the seller. Do I have somebody to second that, please? Sure, thank you. Comments?
I'll get it done.
Well, I should say, is to accept the rate.
Well, yes. We haven't heard many arrays, but yes, absolutely. Okay, so can we vote for unanimous, Peter? Sorry, Mike?
I said it'd be under if we turned it down now.
It would be rather. 17, to discuss the invitation from the Mid-Suffolk District Council to suggest a new road name for the address of the new vehicle testing centre on the A14. Discussion. Peter, can you...
Chairman, I tabled the paper with an explanation as to why the village recorder thinks that Earthfield Lane, this is actually straight from the OS map, this is Elmswell. Here's A14, and as I think is explained on the paper, this is Kiln Lane, which used to be called Earthfield Lane. It used to go across the roundabout and then carry on. I don't think there's any of it left now. Councillor Birch remembers actually digging some of this up in a fit of pique.
Is that correct, Mr. Burt?
So the suggestion is that Earthfield Lane should be preserved as a name, as the road has now gone. And as it actually went directly across this site, it would seem to be possibly appropriate.
I think very appropriate. Mike?
Just propose that we accept it.
Yeah. Everybody happy to accept that?
Yeah,
That's brilliant, because that was Earthfield Lane all the time.
Yes. Excellent.
And the next one as well.
18, to discuss the invitation of the Mid-Suffolk District Council, suggest a new road name for the housing development on the former house vacant site.
Again, Chairman, I've circulated a paper from the village recorder, and it is before you that, first of all, road number 1, sorry, this is the best copy, Mid-Suffolk posted this to me, it's as good as I can get. So road number 1, which is in fact the existing St Edmunds Drive, her suggestion is that that should remain as the main spinal route through as St Edmunds Drive, commemorating the factory as well as retaining a road which has been there for some time. The rest of it I've forgotten. Road number 2, which is, I'm going to have to blow this up a bit more and we'll lose the routes. So road number 2 is this one, which comes up. Road number 1 comes in from Ashfield Road, curves round. Road number 2 comes off it and goes to the boundary, where it is suggested that it is clearly part of, because footpath 11, I think, it's replacing some of that. So we're remembering the ancient route from the village to Elmswell Hall over what is now the Hawken Lane level crossing. So the contention is that somewhere along here there was a way that people used to walk from the village over the railway crossing before the railway was there and up to the hall, and therefore Hall Lane might be appropriate for that. Number 3 is this one here, which comes off number 2. And for this, it is suggested that you go back to the village sign, which reflects the original roots of Elmswell, which hasn't actually been commemorated anywhere else in a road name. So Elmswella was the Saxon name because of elms and wells. And similarly, number 6, Spring View, Elms, Springs, etc. From here, you would have been able to see the main spring from which Elmswell derived its name, which is over by Elmswell Hall. So those two commemorated on the sign and relevant to the name. Number 4, Monk's Path, further reference to the village sign, and a reminder of the importance of Bury Abbey and its outpost. Elmswell was, of course, founded as a community, as a big community, because the abbot had Elmswell Hall and used to come and trap the rabbits on the warren. And finally, Lawn Drive. The field names, as she explains, I think, in her preamble, the field names she tries to use whenever she can. But the only significant one is lawn, in this case, L-A-W-N. There are 3 lawn references of this plot. Great Lawn, Little Lawn, Long Lawn, on the tide map. And this is a celian of land, a cultivated strip of land within which there were these separate plots, which were called lawn. So for those reasons, we would like to suggest that those are the names that you consider for the new development.
I think that's a great piece of work.
I've got new, correct me if I'm wrong, I might be wrong here, that we've already got in there an Elm Tree Business Park, haven't we? Will that confuse him? Elm Tree Crescent, Elm Tree Business Park in there?
Elm Tree Business Park is an unofficial name. It's not a road name.
No, but it's a business in there. And if someone asked you where they could get really muddled up.
Could get a lot of heavy lorries going to...
Yeah. I'm not saying that's wrong or anything,
No,
I'm just wondering. Elm Tree Business Park, Elm Tree Crescent, a bit too close.
We could use the original Saxon Elmswell.
But I'm not against it, so Jonathan, I'm just saying.
Good call it Elmswell at present.
Elmswell at present.
Elmswell at present.
Nice one. Yeah.
Nice one.
Well, that will save any possible confusion.
I think they're always worried about confusion with emergency vehicles more than, yeah. I think
I'm not going to speak, but Dave spoke already, that's fine.
No, sorry, please.
I'm not going to speak, but...
No, you're not there to speak, so please sit down. There'll be an opportunity.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to propose that the adoption of the suggestions put forward in variation from Elm Street Crescent to Elmswell Crescent. And I think it would be appropriate for us to thank the village recorder for having put obviously quite a lot of time into this for us.
Very much so, yes, absolutely. It's a great piece of work, yeah. Okay, so we're all happy with the...
Could I just comment, taking on board about, it's a dialogue as well, obviously there's going to be an awful lot of street names required in the upcoming years, so that could be something we could discuss for future.
I think, yeah, that's a future
With a bit
discussion.
more time, but
Yeah.
I do think that's a good idea.
Yeah, very good.
Perhaps when we do the bypass, it will be named after him, because we have to go through the land which his family owned.
Mr. Chairman, technically I think we do need to have a second vote on that.
Do we? Okay. Right, so who's for? Unanimous?
And I take it you second that, Chairman?
Yes.
Good.
So I'm confused.
19. To discuss the appointment of 3 representatives on the Elmswell Four Lanes Charity and to take action as appropriate.
Yes, Chairman, we have 4 nominee places, and as I've explained somewhere, perhaps in a part report, we only have 1 appointee at the moment. They don't have to be councillors, but the Secretary was in touch with me saying that the opportunities are there if anybody wishes to take them up.
So is it a case we are looking for volunteers, Peter?
It is, Chairman.
No volunteers, we might have to go for pressmen. Oh, you.
What does it involve?
Sorry?
One meeting, as chairman of the Poor Man's Charity, any volunteers would always be welcome. I think Julia would be absolutely ideal for the job. So, one meeting a year.
Okay.
Towards Christmas.
Ayes.
I'm sold.
4 minutes.
Well done, Julie. Well done. Do we need any more of those, Peter?
We need
We
three.
need another 2.
We need another two.
Well, Dick has already won, hasn't he, Dick?
No.
Well, by the time you came back again, then.
Let's volunteer.
Well, I am one of the old residents, I suppose.
Can we,
And
can
that's
we,
all I play for myself.
can we push
We'll
you?
walk home together with our Sherry.
Oh, that's an
Yeah, it's only meeting once a year, I'll go, yeah.
Okay.
Make it Baileys in the
Two volunteers. We want one more volunteer. What about Sol? She was previously with it. I know that's probably jumping the gun, but maybe I
I
can
was going to
suggest.
say, can we ask for a volunteer that's not here?
Yeah.
You can suggest that I ask.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the case of rejection, we bring it forward to next meeting.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah.
That'd be lovely, thank you.
Thank you, volunteers.
You'll enjoy it, it's fun.
Spanish sherry.
20, proposal from myself that this council formally approves and accepts the statutory annual return for its activities for the year ending 31st of March. I won't bother to read out the rest of it. I'll read the, could I have a second, please? David, thank you. And is there any points of clarification? No. Can we then vote, please, for acceptance? Unanimous, please, no. Another proposal by myself that the Elmswell 55 Club and the Elmswell Bowls Club be thanked for their recent stewardship of the Station Road Recycling Centre for the recent period, and that each organisation be granted aid in the sum of £150 towards their club funds. Can I have a second for that, please?
Yeah.
So, David. And vote, please. For. 22. Chris, over to you.
Yeah,
Sorry. Seconder. Okay, well, seconder for.
Oh, yes.
Lisa, thank you. And over to you, Chris.
Sorry, Jim.
It's okay, thank you.
looking after the village website, I received an email a few weeks ago now saying that the web host is going to be changing from One Suffolk to Community Action Suffolk. And there's not much you can do about it. If you don't want the website anymore, then you don't have to have it. You can find someone else, or you can just stick with this new provider, but they will charge a fee of £50 plus VAT. So we decided that if we want the website, then that's probably the best way to do it, because we're going to keep most of what's already on the website can just be transferred across, so it makes it straightforward.
Yes, I agree with that.
Was One Suffolk free then?
Yeah, One Suffolk was free, yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So for £50, it's certainly worth retaining the...
I'd say it was a good idea.
Pay for another piece.
Oh, we don't want to upset Chris, do we?
Oh, we certainly can.
So then-
So can we take a vote to support that, please? Unanimous, Peter. 24, to discuss the current casual vacancy on the council and to take action as appropriate.
We'll do 23.
Oh, sorry, well, this one. Oh, sorry, I was jumping into...
Go on for it.
I was reading it, I think it was
23, sorry.
Copy 23 is particularly gripping.
To discuss, yes, exactly. To discuss the current consultation on plans outlined in the government's plans as outlined, etc., etc., etc. Peter, please.
Yes, Chairman, all councillors have had a fairly full exposition of the situation here. It has been discussed previously by various iterations of this council, and it has always been the view of this council that a precept referendum is a bad idea, if not necessarily just for us, but for much smaller councils. It can cause some real problems. It stems from the 2011 joke called the Localism Act, and what they're trying to do is to muscle you out of making a decision as to your own precept. So I think I have summed up the spirit of what I've circulated, which I'm sure you've all assiduously read.
But not necessarily understood.
Exactly. I did glaze over somewhat.
If I could suggest a way forward, Chairman, it is, if the spirit of what I've just said chimes with this particular group of councillors, I'm quite happy to take that forward through the consultation document.
I will certainly support that. So, can we have a show of hands for support? We now come on to 24 to discuss the current casual vacancy on the council and to take action as appropriate. Peter, have we had any?
We have had one take-up. Following recent vacancy, this is from Sol Indurain. I would like to offer my services as a potential councillor for APC. As you're aware, I was a councillor until the last election, so I'm aware of the commitment and responsibilities the role entails. During that time, I feel I was able to accomplish a number of tasks for the benefit of the residents and village amenities in general. I look forward to hearing from you.
I would support that application. I've only worked on one project with her, and that worked extremely well, and she got it together, and she did all the work. Master of delegation as always. And we now have a defibrillator at the platform, which is largely down to her efforts. And I think she will add to the balance of our council.
And experience.
Yeah.
Can we have a show?
Yeah, absolutely.
Second. Yeah, show of hands.
I think perhaps I ought to declare it as my wife.
We do know that, right, yeah.
Well, some of the public ones.
Would you want sympathy?
Be told that?
Any more questions on that? That's it, please. You can do the necessary.
Yep.
25, to note authorised payments authorised payments made and income received as per appendices B and C, and indicative financial overview. Any questions for that thing? No, we'll have to move on. Yes. 26, I would like to propose that payments scheduled as appendix D be authorised. Could I have somebody to second that, please? David, thank you. Could we vote for, please? To note finances as per appendix E and the Chairman's confirmation of the relevant bank statement and computer report verify the published figure of £156,219.29. Coming to me, or shall I come to you?
That's the published figure, which is reflected in the computer. So there it is there. Take away those which are also in the computer,
Yes.
and you get that, which is the bank statement. So that goes right back to that.
Which is there?
Yeah.
No, okay.
28. So by public comment or questions on matters relevant to council business. Yes. John.
You were commenting about the putting double yellow lines along Station Road to eliminate the parking problem. Wouldn't that have quite a detrimental effect on businesses?
Okay, I wasn't. Sorry. Yeah. Very good comment.
I would like to point out I was being rather sort of provocative about it, and I do realise what I said would not be practical, but some sort of alternative would have to be come up with, presumably by the last.
I can't remember now, I should know it, but I think a single yellow line with parking restrictions on a limited time.
Yeah.
Then they could have the extra.
Yeah,
So you couldn't park
Yeah. I think it is something we should keep under review until we get a permanent solution.
Still nobody to enforce it, it's a waste of breath.
Yeah. Any further questions from members of the public? Yes, please.
Can I just give you one thing? I'm not sure at what point do the general people in Elmswell get to know how this is going to be maintained and the costs, how it's going to be paid and whatever, because you've gone into a lot of money to pay for that. So will that be published to them?
Sorry, could you just repeat the question?
Yeah, you're
I
purchasing
wasn't
the
clear.
Wesley Hall
We are, yes,
and at a sum of 285,000.
yes.
Are you going to tell the villagers how that is going to be repaid or how that is going to be supported or?
We already have made that announcement of how that's going to be funded. Peter, I'm sure, can just refresh the memories.
Yes, £285,000 is to be borrowed, to be drawn down within 2 days from the Public Works Loan Board, paid back over 25 years at a rate of 3.1% fixed over that period.
Is that coming out of a precept that you get? Is that how you repay it?
No, it doesn't come out of the precept.
So how do you repay that? That's what I want to know.
Okay, so how do you service the debt?
How's your mortgage going to be paid?
Sorry.
Yes, obviously the funding will come out of the general fund of the council, which includes the input from the precept. However, councillors took the view that the expenditure which has been made over the last medium-term past on Blackbourn has now come to an end. Therefore, the precept will hardly be affected by the new requirement of the PWLB because there's no Blackbourn to pay for. So yes, the precept is part of the fund, but no, you won't notice a big hike in precept. And in fact, that was a statutory declaration that we had to make, which we did do, to the Public Works Loan Board before we could have the money.
Thank you.
No further questions? Okay, we'll move on. Any other council, 29, any other council business or information to be noted or conclusion on the third agenda?
I'd just like to put on the agenda in the future emergency planning. I've been working on this 2 years. We keep appealing for people to come and join me and make it work. We're not getting anybody, so we've tried articles in the newsletter, so I think the council needs to discuss, do we need an emergency plan, and if so, how are we going to implement it? So just an idea for the future agenda.
Could you put together some sort of formal proposal, I think?
I'll just give people notice that I'm going to do that because I'm fed up with it.
Okay. Anything else from the members? No? Okay. Okay, to note that the next ordinary meeting of the council is scheduled for Monday the 21st of November.